Perfect. Okay, let's get on. Okay, born lean. Oh, yeah. How do we launch new products and services that are already lean and highly efficient at the time of launch? Yeah, so this is something come up with a long time ago. Really came about from the fact that most organizations are basically trying to embrace kaizen and to look at different products and services and processes and cells, and ultimately are trying to kaizen the process, trying to streamline the process, trying to improve the process and productivity. And ultimately, the majority of the waste, the cost was already locked in. So it's kind of rework, trying to apply kaizen. Really, what we should be doing is designing the processes that are lean and highly efficient at the time of launch. So that's what we're to discuss today: how we can actually ensure that the process for delivering new products and services is lean, capable, and highly efficient at the time of launch. And not lock in the badly designed processes, the equipment, and the additional cost, and not having to go and kaizen a new process that we've just launched. It's just madness. So this is me, Darren Walsh, Lean Enterprise Academy and Making Lean Work. I've spent over 25 years helping different businesses improve in multi-site organizations, like when I had a proper job, Sega, Parker Hannifin, Boston Scientific, Zodiac Aerospace, and a couple of others, Iowa. Since then, I've been helping different business leaders and managers, mainly in medical, automotive, oil, energy, I should say, oil and gas energy, aerospace. And my main focus is working with organizations, the senior leaders and management and supervision who are already on an improvement journey, and looking at, well, why do they struggle? Why are they struggling with problem solving? Why are they struggling with kaizen? Why are they struggling with different improvement techniques, and developing better products and delivering projects on time, and helping to learn from that and navigate the pitfalls, and ultimately make lean and continuous improvement work. So work with a number of different organizations. When I had a proper job, I worked for the likes of these guys. And since then, I've been helping the likes of NHS, Mars Foods, Baker Hughes, Technip FMC, Vertilus, many more. So some struggles. A badly designed process for delivering new products and services typically locks in these inefficiencies, and it locks in space and cost. The processes are often not capable of meeting customer demand or new demand in the future. Sometimes we just lock in that ability to increase the output. People struggle to perform the work in a consistent way without having sort of a detriment to their physical well-being, quality, and efficiency. So that, what we end up doing is we design a process, we launch a process, and then the people who try and work the process struggle because they're banging their elbows, or they've got to bend or stretch, and they can't keep up that rate of productivity. So whether they are serving in restaurants or hotels or on a production line, we often struggle, and it's often the case that we spend a lot of time on the product development, and then it's over the fence into the manufacturing. And we often treat the different parts of the process as individual functions. And like I said, throwing it over the wall. So instead, we need to start taken a value stream approach where we look right away across this value stream. Often we end up, with this sort of typical functional approach, we end up squeezing the time for new product development and introduction and the launch, and launch it late and then try and improve it again. And we often end up ignoring what is in place in the beginning and what the customer really needs, and then end up designing something that is worse than we've already got. It's crazy, yeah? So we need to do a far better job of this. Excuse me. So some examples. Badly designed processes that are not capable of meeting customer demand typically lock in these inefficiencies, get people to end up rushing to meet output. I've seen examples in automotive where we are limiting that cell output and staffing. Then when the numbers, the demand increases, it requires another production line or another cell. In medical devices, we improved a process, and then the technology guys had developed what they thought was a better way of doing this, and that required 2.5 times more staffing than we actually needed in the first place. Lengthy process for the provision of recommended spares parts list. So we launched a process, or the business had launched a process for the recommended spares parts list in aerospace, and was typically losing out on 18 million a year. From improving the process, straight away, first project, 6 million order. There's high ergonomic risk, reducing output, and often requires additional staffing, or some people refuse to work on the process. And perhaps the worst case I had was 11 new automated lines at a cost of 88 million were launched, but they were actually less efficient, required more space and more technical support than the old version. Yeah, so we've got to do something about this. Yeah, most organizations, when they launch products or services, as they said, they try and start doing kaizen. They end up doing mapping exercise, a flow process mapping, a kaizen exercise, a value stream mapping exercise. But unfortunately, the majority of the cost and the waste is already locked in. So let's start looking at this straight away, earlier in the design phase, and actually designing a process that works. So this is where we need to understand customer demand. We need to make the value flow and minimize the non-value added activities, or waste, as we call them in Lean. We need to explore and find better ways of doing the work. So not just coming up with a single solution. We need to test a number of alternatives to get to the best method. And we need to help team members, help ensure that team members and energy in the business, the energy consumption in the business is considered in this development stage. Ultimately, we can use a form of standardized work for this. So standardized work is not one document. It's not a procedure or a visual aid. Standardized work is all about having the best repeatable method. Ultimately, it's having the standard, or the method needs to be capable. It needs to be capable of meeting customer demand. It needs to be achievable. So more than one person in the team needs to be able to do that. It's not just about having superhuman people who can do the certain parts of the process. And it's also making sure that the process, the standard itself, is repeatable. Many problems that we actually get is because we sort of avoid this PDCA thinking. I mentioned last session that also we should be thinking about diamonds. So diamonds are part of PDCA. where we need to go wide to discover and learn, and then narrow to articulate. And wide to discover and narrow to articulate. As we do that, we're actually getting rid of irrelevant facts and data and noise. What lots of businesses do is they avoid this and they jump to the solutions. Excuse me. Yeah, so we need to avoid that. And the other thing that many businesses do is they forget about the 4 phases of standardized work. DAMI. So define a standard, achieve a standard, maintain the standard, and improve the standard. So what do organizations and businesses do? Often they focus on kaizen. That is all about improving the standard. Ultimately, we need to make sure that we are maintaining the standard and we've developed a good standard that is capable first. Sorry, just a tickle in my throat. Yeah, so we need to think about this 4 phases of standardized work. And this will help us launch better products and have a better process for launching products. So Kaizen, like I said, Kaizen comes in here. This is where we look at daily management. So if we've got variation in the process, we need to be thinking about daily management, taking variation out, and then look at Kaizen to improve. But prior to that, we need to make sure that the standards themselves are capable and achievable. Now, we also need to look both ways. So this is, if you've ever read The Green Book from Shigeru Shingo, a brilliant book. This is something I read when I was first learning about improvement and lean. Ultimately, business processes are made up of a network of processes and operations. Processes, if you like, go one way, and operations go the other way through the business. Processes themselves are made up of operations or tasks, transportation, storage and delays and decision points. And operations are made up of value-added activity and non-value-added activity. The majority of it is non-value-added activity. In our development phase for developing this process for launching products, we need to be thinking about both the process and the operational tasks. So use my 9 steps to born lean. This is what I've used for a number of years, refining it over time. Ultimately, it's, first of all, we need to understand demand. We need to understand customer demand. When you are launching a new product or service, sometimes you're getting into that forecast demand. So yes, trying to understand the demand and also looking at the different products within this new launch. And what are the product families? What's the mix in there? Once we've got the mix, we can then start understanding the current state standardized work. We can get to understand a high level value stream. So looking at the process, then we can also start to understand the individual steps. We can take the work content or providing the product or the service, and we can break that down into multiple steps in our balance charts based on customer demand. Then, using standardized work combination diagrams, we can come up with the best way I'm just going to jump back, make sure everything's okay. You hear the beep? Yeah, are you all hearing okay? Yes? Yeah, excellent. Thank you. I heard a beep. I thought something was wrong. Yeah, so then we can start looking at our current state standardized work. In our current state standardized work, we look at the process, the high level process. Then we start breaking that process down into different steps and balancing the step to meet customer demand. And that's all built from the standardized work combination diagrams that help us define the best method for doing the job. Standardized work layout helps us understand the layout, the process, and standardized work job instruction helps us to start understanding the best way for transferring knowledge or for teaching the steps to new members of the team. We can conduct an ergonomic assessment to make sure that the people's needs are built into the process at the early stage. We can also look at the needs of energy consumption. We can look at where we can use no energy solutions or low cost energy solutions. Then we look at exploring alternatives using the 3P product and process preparation process. So this helps us, not just develop a new process or a new line or a new service or a new cell that we think is right first time. We go through a series of reflections and trials to try and fine tune it and improve it and basically try and mistake proof it. We're trying to learn what are the issues that could be in place in this design phase. Then what we do is we go back to the higher level value stream and we look at what makes a value stream lean. Now you can apply what makes a value stream lean to your current processes and try and improve it. But we can also save a lot of work by building it into new products and services. So what makes a value stream lean is looking at this firstly from a customer's perspective, looking at customer demand or TACT and our finished goods strategy for supplying that product or service to the customer, whether we're going to build to order or to stock. We can then look at flow elements where we will look at how will we or where will we apply continuous one-piece flow, FIFO and pull. And then we're into the game change of scheduling points, interval and pitch. We take that, we develop it into our future state standardized work. We run some tests and reflections and we refine our future state standardized work and then we launch. So I've got some examples for you. So first of all, we start looking at our potential sales, our forecast. We look at more than one plan because we know that forecasts are always wrong. So we come up with multiple plans, A, B, C, and we look at the breakdown of the products. What are the different products? We can also look at the different products, the range of products, and we can look at the different steps that many of them will go through, and we can start creating product families for that. That helps us design our standardized work. We can use big picture mapping to start designing how these processes could work together. We can use a high-level value stream map to start understanding, what's the best way of doing this? Is this going to be a build to order or a make to sort of replenishment? So in this particular value stream, we pull from there and we build to order, or we supply to order. Whereas in this one, the scheduling point is here, and we're just assembling to order or servicing the customer to order. So we create that high-level value stream. We take the work content, we take the total work content that requires to process the requirement, the product or service from the customer, and based on customer demand, we break that down into the steps to supply that. We can use that with a standardized work balance chart. Then we can start working on layouts, looking at layouts, looking at dance steps, people's dance steps. Again, we can use this in production or manufacturing areas. We can also use this type of thinking in restaurants, hotels, in service-based organizations. What are the movements that people go through? What are the stretching? We take the work, we build it into standardized work. This is a future state, but we may have some current states where you might find a lot of handoffs, waiting time, equipment time where you're waiting, walk time, and then we can start reducing the waste and ultimately improving flow, making that value flow. We can develop standardized work job instructions for training aids, which capture the steps, the key points, and the reasons for the key point. The key point is like a knack. So these are the quality or the safety knacks. Then we can start, so it's just another balance. So this is a balance for one person also. In this particular instance, we developed a future state for this particular process that only acquired 5 pieces in the process, whereas typically batch size was 200 and maybe there was a dozen batches in the process. Lead time, 35 minutes, changeover time, interval. So the interval is how often we cycle through the mix of products. So the high runners, the low runners. Pitch then is actually supplying so many products at a time. I think this particular one was, I can't remember, it was 20 products at a time. And then productivity, that increased productivity to 93%. We identify where we can apply the 8 lean guidelines. So looking at what the tact was, the finished goods strategy, we even looking at processes that feed into this. Anybody seen the Founder, the film The Founder? What a great movie about McDonald's. And in that movie, you've got a scenario where they're designing the layout for the McDonald's store, and they went to a tennis court and just chalked it up. And then I think it was Rick who sat on like an umpire's chair, and as people were simulating the work, he could see where the clashes were, the problems, and then they relayed it, improved it, relayed it again. So the 3P process is exactly like that. So how can we mock up, rather than invest in expensive equipment, how can we mock it up? How can we test it? How can we prove it? How can we refine and change it? And you can do that for lines, you can do that for assembly cells or service-based processes. Also, we can look at the ergonomic risk. We can look at the ergonomic risk and the sort of twisting and the stretching and bending. And we can measure that ergonomic risk. And we can then look at, well, how can we mitigate that ergonomic risk and build that into the future state standardized work? So where you've got high levels of ergonomic risk, usually that's also where you have got your standardized work is high as well. So by mitigating those high levels of ergonomic risk, we can then come back to a highly capable process for delivering products and services. Some results in this particular example, actual improvement on lead time was 96%, inventory reduction was 88%, productivity 22%, or 22 percentage points. Parts per hour went up 6%. This one, reduced 86%. 86% reduction in lead time, nearly 13 days. Inventory reduction, 30-point increase in productivity based on similar processes. Parts per hour jumped up from 10 to 25 an hour. So, you look at standardized times and estimates, and this just makes a mockery of that. So where does all of this lie? When I work with different customers, different organizations, Often they want to run into the kaizen straight away. So this is the roadmap I often work with them on. New products and services born lean is all about this. But unless you've got an effective management system in place with good leadership routines and a skill for applying kaizen, you will struggle on that. And these routines here require leaders to spend time on the right things, or to have time, and we need to be on the right improvement approach, and also have the right thinking behind the tools. It's not the tools that are important, it's the thinking behind the tools. Standardized work is the foundation to having robust and highly, what have I written there? Standardized work is the foundation to having robust and highly effective processes. We need to explore alternatives as we go through this. Think of the diamonds. Don't just bank on a single solution. Mitigate these problems before they become a problem. It's much more cost effective. Ensure you plan for changes in demand. Make sure we've got standardized work for plan A, plan B, and plan C. So when demand changes, we just change the staffing calculation. And consider the 4 levels of kaizen. So applying kaizen to a task, to a process, to energy, and to the motion or the ergonomics. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? I went through that quite quickly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. What questions do you have? No questions. Good. That's either a good sign or a bad sign. Clear. Thank you very much. Very useful. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you, Peter. Excellent. Yeah. So if anybody wants dinner time, if anybody wants more information, anybody wants some examples, or if you want some of my standardized work templates, I'll gladly send them to you. Just let me know. But we just need to make sure that we understand standardized work better than we do today. It's not about trying to apply kaizen, trying to look for waste and reduce that waste. If we understand standardized work well enough, then we will build highly effective processes in the very beginning. So we need less of the kaizen. Then the key step is to train people to follow the standardized work effectively, and help team members maintain that standard until we find a better way. Yeah. Simple but difficult. Yeah, very, very good point. Yeah. So I try and everything I do, I think work is complex enough. So everything I try and do is to try and keep it as simple as possible. Ultimately, the thinking, the structure is simple, but like you said, Bella, it's not easy. But as long as we keep trying, we keep this cycle of PDCA, then actually it will work. Sometimes we just overcomplicate things. Yeah, how can we change from no standardized work? Yeah. The majority of problems that a business will have will come down to either having no standardized work, so people are doing the job in different ways, but the standardized work is not clear, it's not being followed for some reason. Maybe people are not trained, or it's not capable. So when you've got no standardized work anywhere, I'm not sure if I'm getting you. I hope I'm getting what you mean. If you're in a business and you've got no standardized work, we all got lots of procedures, but often standardized work is not there. What I would suggest you do is pick a process that is hurting the business. Maybe you've got quality issues there, ergonomic issues there. You're struggling to meet demand, or maybe it's an area of the business that you've got the most people. It's a significant part of the process. And you've got a lot of people tied up in that process, and then I would start capturing the standardized work. There's different ways you can do this. So the improvement expert approach is that an industrial engineer or a time and motion person will come in and measure people and create a standard for people to follow. And I used to be an industrial engineer years and years ago, and I realized pretty quickly that whilst there was a lot of real good practice in the tools and techniques, really the best people for designing the work were the people who were doing that. So I used to sort of create an environment that helped them to do this themselves. And that's what we did. So we encouraged it. We created standardized work, we tested it, we changed it. And then we started applying it for new products. Every time, when I was with Sega, every time we launched a new product, we would have the standardized work already done. What else have we got there? Yeah, send the presentation. If I can't get the video, I will send you the slides anyway. I'm sure we will send the video and the slides. And the standardized work, I can send you an example of standardized work, no problem. The templates that I've used in the past. Yeah, most companies have VJ. Most companies have ongoing CI, continuous improvement. Yeah, I know companies today that are still applying kaizen regularly. The improvement, the CI team, it gets better, and then they leave for a new job. But the teams themselves are not capable of designing the standardized work themselves. So we've got to change that. So how do we encourage that? If you're doing kaizen, then it's quite easy to say, wouldn't it have been good to design this the first time? So how can we do that? How can we trial that? Because whatever results you will get from doing kaizen, and there are some significant results where you can reduce the lead time by 50% and improve productivity. You will get more from doing it in the design, in the development phase, than actually doing it once the equipment and that is already locked in. And ultimately, it may even lead to lower cost production lines. Yeah, pick a process as problems. Great advice on no standard. Thank you, Peter, again. Yes, happy to send you the presentation. Okay, good. No more questions. Yep, I'll get your email address and I will send you all the presentation. And let me know if you need anything else. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and patience. I know it's quite late, So yes, have a good evening. We still got a couple of emails coming through. Yeah, yeah, standardized work, no problem at all. 6 a.m. No, that's early. That's early. I won't be doing this presentation at 6 a.m. I'm not an early bird. I'm telling you that now. Thanks for getting up, Peter. Oh, present. Yeah, no problem at all. Excellent. Oh, some more email addresses. Yeah, happy to send. Yeah, I will definitely send them. I'll try and send them tomorrow because Saturday I'm off to the World Cup. Okay, have a good evening, all. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Another email. Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Bye.